right, so limits on population. So like I mentioned, all populations, no matter what type of population it is, have a limit to how many of a specific number of individuals it can have within a certain ecosystem. So the example that's here is, rabbits have very high reproduction rates. So they can reproduce quite high, quite frequently. But obviously when you walk down the street, it's not like there's so many rabbits in the way that you're kind of like kicking them out of the way, right? So there's a limit. There's not a million rabbits kind of flooding the streets of Richmond Hill. We have a limit to the population of rabbits, just like there's a limit to the population of every other living thing. So the second part of this lesson here is discussing, well, what are some of the things that limit a population and different scenarios that you're going to come across. Oh, my picture from before. All right, so the first one is the biotic potential. Okay, so we have a little bit of health class coming up in this part. But basically, the biotic potential is essentially talking about, let's say that there is no limit to resources. So let's talk about rabbits. So let's say there's an unlimited amount of space, unlimited amount of food and water. It's essentially talking about, well, what is the maximum offspring that species could produce? Okay, so from the time that it's born until the time that it dies, like what is the maximum amount of baby bunnies that this bunny can have? Okay. So there are 4 factors to consider when we're talking about the potential of the biotic for that species. So number 1 is birth potential. So meaning every time there is a birth, how many offspring are possible during that birth? For example, humans. The highest number of babies that were born in one birth was 8. Right, so actually the woman was known as octomom because she had octuplets, right? So she had 8 babies. So that's like right now the maximum number of humans that could be born per birth, right? So every type of species has a different maximum number. So for example, think of an elephant. Like I'm pretty sure it's rare. I'm not even sure if that's even possible for an elephant to have more than 1 baby per birth, because the babies are huge by the time they're born. You know what? I'm going to do a quick little Google on this. Let's check it out if there's ever been twin elephants. Twin elephant birth. Okay, so it has happened. It's incredibly rare, but just so you know. So I would go with 2 being the maximum amount per birth for the elephant species, right? But of course, think of like cats or dogs. They have many pups or kittens per litter. So per birth, that's something to consider, right? What is the maximum? The second thing is the capacity for survival. So sometimes this can be a sad one to talk about, but just because there is a large number of offspring that are born, it doesn't mean that they're all going to survive. So for example, let's say there is a turtle, okay, and let's say the turtle lays 100 eggs, okay? So if they lay 100 eggs, that turtle, that has the potential to have 100 turtles be born or hatch. However, out of those 100 eggs, you may have some that will never hatch. You may have some that are eaten by a predator. So maybe out of those 100 eggs, only like 5 of them will actually reach reproductive age. So meaning that out of that 100, you might have 5 that will later on go on to lay their own eggs. Okay, so it's not enough just to say how many are being born. It's saying out of those numbers that are being born, how many are actually going on to have babies of their own, right? So maybe the elephant twin situation, maybe one twin is small enough, that like too small that it actually doesn't survive, and it doesn't actually, it's not able to have an elephant baby of its own. Okay, so it's important to consider not only how many, but what is the survival rate. Number 3, procreation. Okay, so this is talking about in 1 year worth of time, so 365 days, how many times can an organism reproduce? So for example, bunnies or rabbits can reproduce every 6 weeks approximately. So in 1 year of time, bunnies can have, or rabbits can have many births, like many births. Every 6 weeks, you can have a batch of baby bunnies being born, right? But, for example, humans, a human reproduction, for if you were to have it like, a woman gets pregnant, it takes 9 months in order for that baby to be born. So if you were to look at 1 full year, like a 12-month period, the maximum number of times that a human can reproduce as a woman is really 1. But an important thing to make note of is that male versus female of a certain organism can reproduce at different rates, right? So a woman can reproduce really only once per year, but as a male, males can reproduce many more times than just the one time in the year, okay? So it's important to think about not only how many times in a year can they reproduce, but also, right, male versus female can have different aspects to this. And number 4 is the length of reproductive life. So what this is talking about is essentially during an organism's length of their lifespan, how many years can they actually reproduce, right? So for example, humans, right, or any organism, right? Let's say you have a puppy, right? A puppy cannot have their own puppies yet. They have to reach maturity, go through puberty, mature their sperm or eggs, whatever it happens to, male versus female, and then they can start to reproduce. Just like at the end of their life, right? So let's say an older, more mature dog, they would not be able to reproduce. Okay, so think of like humans, right? So let's say humans have a lifespan of, 80 years, okay? Right, so depending male versus female, again, this is different. Maybe a female can start reproducing essentially once they get their menstrual cycle. So, from age, let's say 13 until essentially they hit menopause, where they're no longer reproducing or producing eggs to have babies, right? So maybe that's, 55, right? Obviously, this is different for every single person, is a different situation. But that right there gives you the range of time that a woman may be able to give birth, right? So for men, it's a little bit different again. So depending on when the young man goes through puberty, right? So that could be, let's say, again, 12 or 13 years old. But actually the difference between women and men, right, is that men are actually able to reproduce essentially until they die, right? So it's a different span of time that they have reproductive time for sexual maturity. So all these factors, we can say maximum number of offspring, but there's so many factors within that to talk about when it looks at changes in the population. Okay, so limiting factors, this has to do more with environmental. Okay, so over here, just to remind you, we talked about the number of offspring as if the resources were unlimited. Okay, but we know resources are limited. There is only a certain number, a certain amount of food or water or whatever the case may be. So that's where this limiting factors comes in. The environment provides factors that prevent populations from reaching their biotic potential. So, for example, we mentioned how rabbits can reproduce every 6 weeks. Does that mean that they are reproducing every 6 weeks? Probably not. It has to do with a lot with the environment that they're in. So resources that can be limited essentially fall under this. So this could be something like temperature change, light. It could be predators, food, water, air quality. It's really any factor that is necessary for that organism to survive and it being limited. So we have two categories this can fall under. We have biotic factors and abiotic factors. So biotic, again, means that it is a living species or something that is alive. Abiotic is something that is non-living. Okay, so for example, let's talk about a plant. Okay, so we're looking at a producer to grow. So one thing that would cause the population to increase, so we have more plants growing, would be if we had enough sunlight and if the temperature was good. So let's say, you have enough sunlight, it's a sunny day, and it's spring, so the temperature is warm. So those are two things that are not living, right? Light and temperature is not living, but they would cause the population to go up for flowers. Now, if it was going to decrease the population, maybe there is too much sunlight, right, where it's drying out the plants. Maybe there's not enough sunlight and it can't do photosynthesis. Or maybe it's too hot or too cold, like it's not a favorable temperature. So like the factor is light and temperature, but it can cause something to go well, like an increase in the population, or it can cause something to go poorly, like a decrease in the population if it's not in the proper ranges, right? So let's look at rabbits, right? So rabbits don't really need light. They still can live without the light, but temperature might be something that has an impact, right? So maybe there are more bunnies being born in the springtime because they're coming out of hibernation and their temperature is appropriate, so they're outside more, right? If it's too cold or too hot outside, you may not have the rabbits that are going around and basically making bunnies because they're inside in their shelter, in their habitats. So temperature is actually a big one for a lot of different species. The light is more so with producers, right? Producers need sunlight. Okay, so let's talk about biotic factors. So living factors. Food is a big one. Oh, and I should mention abiotic, for example, could be water quality. That's a non-living factor as well. Anyways, so biotic means you have enough food, right? If there's enough food around, there's going to be more living things. If there's not a lot of food, you're going to have less living things. Predators. If you have a small number of predators, there's not as many things eating that population, so they can grow. If you have a lot of predators, obviously the population would decline because you have more things that are consuming it. Okay? So if there's a lot of predators around, you're not really going to see a lot of baby bunnies being born because the predators are most likely going to be consuming the rabbits, right? Whereas it's opposite true if there's low numbers. And diseases. So if you have a disease-free population, right, the population is going to grow. If you have a population that has a lot of diseases that are happening to it, the population is going to decrease. Okay, so these are just a few things that are listed here, but really think of anything that is a limiting factor as something that could cause an increase or decrease. So for example, even something like habitat space, right? So if we have a lot, let's say a squirrel, okay, squirrels need trees. If there's not a lot of trees, like there's not a lot of space for them to build a habitat, you're not going to have a lot of squirrels. But if there's lots of spaces for their habitat, lots of trees, lots of availability, you're going to have more squirrels available.